Welcome everyone to Overthinking Detox, clearing the clutter of cognitive distortions. I am Isha, and today we are going to unpack something that so many of us experience quietly, internally, and sometimes daily. That is the habit of getting stuck in our thoughts. Overthinking feels like thinking a lot, but in reality, it's thinking the same thing repeatedly without clarity and without direction. Before we begin, let me introduce myself and us. I am part of Mind Mitra, a warm, safe mental health space founded by counseling psychologist Kadam Kelapure. Since 2019, we have helped children, teens, adults, anyone who wants clarity, direction, or emotional ease through counseling, guidance, workshops, and well being tools. Today's session is psychoeducational, clear, and deeply practical. Today, we will be discussing what overthinking really is, why our mind slips into the loop, mental clutter, cognitive load, mental fatigue, how our mind filters information, the thinking traps, and finally, how to detox from overthinking through some simple techniques. Before we understand overthinking, we need to understand our mind, how it processes information, how it interprets situations, and how it handles uncertainty. Our mind is constantly processing information. It is not a quiet room, it's a processor, constantly sorting, filtering, deleting, noticing, reacting. You see something and your brain forms a meaning. You hear something, your brain interprets that word. If something feels unclear, the brain fills the gap from past experiences. And because your brain can't process everything around you, it takes shortcuts or mental filters. These shortcuts are helpful but can also confuse you. So, what is overthinking? Let's look at a simple, relatable example you and I will be using throughout this entire session. You send someone a message and they haven't replied for a few hours. This is a very common situation, but let's watch what happens inside our mind. Overthinking is a repetitive, unproductive thinking that creates mental pressure rather than clarity. It's not deep thinking, neither is it a reflection or problem solving. It's looping. There are two forms of overthinking: rumination, which is replaying the past, like, was my message weird? Did I say something wrong? And the second is worry, which is imagining the future. Are they upset with me? What if something is wrong? Neither of these give answers, they only create mental tension. So basically, healthy thinking leads to action, reflection leads to learning, and on the other hand, overthinking leads to exhaustion. So, why do we fall into this trap? Overthinking doesn't mean you're dramatic, it doesn't mean you're weak or something is wrong with you. It simply means your mind is trying to protect you, just in an unhelpful way. Let's understand why we slip into the overthinking loop. Using the same example we have been exploring, you sent someone a message and they haven't replied for a few days. First is uncertainty. Our brain hates not knowing. So when there's silence, like a delayed reply, your brain quickly fills the gap. And because the brain is wired to stay safe, it often assumes the worst possibility case first. Second is past experiences. If you have been ignored, ghosted, or dismissed before, your brain remembers it. So when someone doesn't reply, it doesn't feel like just silence. It feels like a repeat of an old wound. So the current situation triggers it. Self doubt. When you don't fully trust yourself, you assume you did something wrong. Was I too blunt with in my message? Did I overshare? Did I irritate them? Self doubt makes the silence feel personal. Overthinkers don't want drama, they want predictability. So when there's a delay, the mind starts predicting. Maybe they're losing interest, maybe they're upset, maybe something bad happened. Your brain thinks that imagining that all possibilities will protect you, but it is actually draining you. Emotional sensitivity. If you're someone who notices tiny shifts in tone, timing, or behavior, silence feels louder. A delayed reply becomes a what did I do wrong moment instead of a neutral one. High expectations. When you hold yourself to high standards, always replying on time, always saying the right thing, you expect the same from others. So a small delay feels big. Attachment patterns. How we attach emotionally decides how we interpret silence. Anxious attachment means we interpret silence as they are upset with me. Avoidant attachment, we think we interpret it as I shouldn't have messaged. This is too much. Attachment colors the meaning you give to a delayed reply. Mental fatigue. When you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, your brain loses perspectives. A calm mind says they're probably busy, but a tired mind will say something must be wrong. Personality traits. Traits like deep thinking, caring a lot, people pleasing, or being highly responsible can make you overanalyze simple moments. You value relationships, so even a small delay feels important. So, overthinking isn't random, it's your mind trying to make sense of uncertainty, protect you, and stay prepared. But sometimes it ends up creating more stress than safety. So, overthinking can also be triggered by unclear or mixed communication. Like when the message isn't clear, your brain fills the gap. If we are feeling nervous in social situation, when you worry about how you're perceived, how you form bonds with people is one of the causes of overthinking. Putting pressure on yourself to be perfect, feeling things deeply, hormonal changes as mood, energy, and thinking patterns fluctuate. It might cause us to overthink. Feeling mentally or physically drained, not feeling good enough, avoiding arguments or tough conversation, not getting answers or closure, where the brain keeps looping to solve the missing pieces. Being hurt or betrayed in the past is also one of the causes of overthinking, and constant pressure or stress is another one. These factors change how mind views even small, harmless moments and making them feel bigger than they are. Consequences of overthinking. When overthinking becomes habitual, we may notice mental fatigue, which is when you feel tired without doing anything. Your mind feels tired from thinking too much, even without doing anything. Emotional exhaustion, where everything feels heavier and you get overwhelmed quickly. The main difference in mental and emotional exhaustion is that in mental exhaustion, your thinking is tired, that is, you can't focus. And in emotional exhaustion, your feelings are tired, that is, everything feels heavy. Another consequence is analysis paralysis, in which you think so much that making even small decision feels stressful. Another consequence is anxiety, in which your brain constantly scans for danger and goes into what if mode automatically. Relationship strain, where you read too much between the lines and you assume silence means rejection. There's also a drop in productivity, where your mind is so busy with thoughts that it struggles to focus. So remember, nothing external has happened, but internally the mind just ran an over marathon. So let's put everything into one simple cycle. Trigger is the delayed message, which results in silence, and we interpret that as they must be upset. Emotional reaction to that is anxiety, tension, or discomfort. We mentally loop it as rereading it, checking it, imagining scenarios, etc., which leads to us having fatigue and our mental battery draining, which results in us having a low perspective. That is when we are tired, we think more negatively and not realistically, and that leads to a new trigger. So when something small happens, cycle restarts. This loop is continuous unless we interrupt the interpretation stage. Now let's talk about mental clutter. Now that we understand the cycle, let's explore what happens inside your mind during overthinking, why it feels crowded, foggy, and heavy. First is mental clutter. So imagine your mind is a room and overthinking fills this room with assumptions, doubts, imagined scenarios, predictions, worries, memories, comparisons, questions, self criticism, and what if thoughts. Each thought is small, but together they take up a lot of space. In our delayed message example, the mental clutter might sound like they must be ignoring me. Did I overshare? Did I sound rude? Or why are they online but not replying? Should I delete the message? Should I wait? Or are they losing interest in me? This mental clutter doesn't help you think better, it blocks your clarity. Another reason is a cognitive load, which means how much mental effort your brain is using. If you think of your brain like a device, it has a limited amount of working memory at a time. On a calm day, your cognitive load is low and your mind feels spacious. But during overthinking, your cognitive load shoots up. You're thinking about thinking. You're analyzing your own thoughts and you're trying to predict things you don't even know. It causes a loop of where overthinking uses up your mental energy, and then your mind gets overloaded and you can't think clearly. When you can't think clearly, you feel things more intensely, and when emotions take over, the overthinking gets worse. It's a complete loop and it leads to mental fatigue. After all the mental clutter and mental cognitive load, you reach mental fatigue. And mental fatigue looks like tired but not sleepy, heavy headed, low motivation, emotional overflow, difficulty concentrating, irritability, zoning out, feeling overwhelmed even by the small things, and needing more breaks than usual. And here's the key: you're tired because your brain has been solving problems that didn't exist. Your mind is exhausted from running simulations and not from dealing with the reality. So the question becomes, why does the mind create these stories? Why do we assume the worst? And why does silence feel like a threat? To understand this, we need to look at the filters in our brain. So, brain filters is something fascinating. Every second, our brain receives more than 11 million bits of information, and consciously, we can only process about 40 bits of it. This means something powerful, that our mind is not seeing reality exactly as it is. It is seeing reality through filters. Filters decide what you notice, what you ignore, what you focus on, and how you interpret things. These filters shape the meaning you give to everything around you. To make sense of the world, your brain uses three major shortcuts. Let's break them down using our delayed message example. Our brain tries to fill the gap. First process is known as the deletion, which means your brain automatically ignores some information so it can focus on something else. In our example, we delete possibilities like they might be in a meeting, their phone might be dead, they might be resting, or they might have seen the message but forgotten the reply. You focus only on the silence. When your mind deletes neutral or positive possibilities, the negative ones feel louder. Distortion means your brain changes the meaning of something. In our example, if the message is not replied, your mind distorts it into they're avoiding me, they're upset with me, or something is wrong. So, distortion turns a fact into a fear based story. Generalization means your brain takes one event and expands it. So, they didn't reply turns into people always ignore me. I am always the one who cares more. Things never work out for me. So, generalization makes a single moment feel like a pattern. And these three filters shape how we see the world. Over time, when these filters harden, they become cognitive distortions. Filtering is normal, we all do it. But when these filters become rigid and overly negative, they create thinking traps, patterns of thinking that feel true but are not always accurate. Let's walk through these distortions one by one. Cognitive distortions are basically habitual thought errors that make situations seem worse than they are. Everyone has them, and awareness is the first step to change. There are some common cognitive distortion, and we will use the same example to see how our mind spirals from one type to another. The first is all or nothing thinking, which is black or white thinking or no middle ground. For example, if they haven't replied, something is definitely wrong, or if someone doesn't respond immediately, they don't care. But reality is usually gray, not black or white. Overgeneralization means one event means the whole story. They didn't reply, people always do this to me. This always happens. One delay is not a pattern, but your mind turns it into one. Mental filter, you focus on one negative detail and ignore everything else. You ignore every supportive thing you have done and zoom it only on this silence. Your brain selects one detail and magnifies it. In this distortion, you reject the positive automatically. For example, even if they text me later, they're just being polite or they replied but not enthusiastically. You dismiss anything that doesn't match your fear. In this distortion, we assume without evidence. So it has two types: mind reading and fortune telling. Mind reading examples would be they're upset, they're not interested in me anymore. Fortune telling examples would be this will end badly. In this, you act as if you know the truth without any proof. In catastrophizing, we expect the worst case scenario. Example, if they don't reply soon, this entire relationship will fall apart. Something terrible must have happened. The mind jumps from 0 to 100 in a quick second. In personalization, we assume everything is about ourselves. Example, if they didn't reply, I must have caused it, or it must be my fault. We insert ourselves into a situation that may have nothing to do with us. Should statements are rigid rules we have for ourselves and for others. For example, they should reply quickly. I should never send a rescue mail. I should have known better. This should create pressure and not clarity. So now that we have seen how our brain or mind twists one small moment into a full blown mental storm, let's talk about what we can actually do about it. Detox is a process of clearing our mental overload and thought toxins. And in psychology, it means interrupting unhelpful loops and building flexible thinking. This is a simple cycle your mind goes through during a detox. Initially, our mind is in a normal state. You're going about your day, minding your own business. Your brain is doing what it always does, thinking, planning, and everything else. Then, boom, suddenly something tiny, something random, something that shouldn't matter as much as it should, suddenly does and triggers you. A comment, a message, a memory, anything. Overthinking barges in and you start spiraling. Now, here's where the magic begins. Instead of judging yourself, pause, take a breath. Look at your thoughts like you are watching clouds pass by. No grabbing, no wrestling, no overanalyzing. And ask yourself, what story am I telling? Suddenly, the chaos becomes a little clearer. Once you have spotted the thought, hold it up to the light and ask yourself, is this helpful? Is this real? Is this coming from fear, past hurt, ego? You can think of yourself like a bodyguard to your house where only constructive thoughts get in and everything else is not allowed. Here's the decision point. If the thought is constructive, something you can act on, something that leads to growth, amazing. Work on it. Do what you need to do. Make the call, set the boundary, take the step. If the thought is not constructive, if it's just noise, a hypothetical situation, then we toss it. When the brain refuses to let go, you break the loop with grounding, mindfulness, distraction, focusing on now, or focusing on the present moment. It's like hitting a mental refresh button. You're not running away, you're closing peace over spirals. Slowly, as you interrupt the cycle, you return to your balanced state. Your mind stops over analyzing stuff and you breathe again, you think again, and you live again. So, this is the overthinking detox cycle. It's not perfection, it's just progress. A gentle reminder that your thoughts are visitors and you decide who stays and who leaves. One of the easiest ways to begin the detox is using the 3R method. First is recognizing. This is the moment when you notice I'm overthinking, I'm assuming, I'm spiraling. Recognition is powerful because it stops the automatic loop. The second step is reflect. This is where you check the evidence. What do I know for sure? What am I guessing? What else could be happening? Is there another explanation? Reflecting gives your brain space to breathe. Third step is reframe. You don't have to jump to positivity. You just choose something more realistic, something more neutral. For example, instead of they're upset with me, try they might be busy or I don't have enough information yet. This small shift changes the whole emotional tone. Here are some simple tools we can use every day to support the detox process. Thought record journal is a journal where you write the trigger, the thought, emotion, distortion, and the balanced alternative. Writing down helps your mind slow down and organize. Second is shifting in self talk. One powerful question: what if it goes right? It gently challenges your fear based assumptions. Next is grounding and mindfulness. So, when your thoughts speed up, bring your attention back to the present using techniques like 4-5-3-2-1 grounding, noticing your breath, sensory awareness. Grounding shifts your brain from thinking to sensing. Sometimes the mind needs the body to calm down first. So, techniques such as deep belly breathing, gentle stretching, relaxing your shoulders, a short walk, touching something cold. A calm body equals to a calmer mind. So these tools aren't meant to eliminate thoughts, they're meant to give you more control over how you respond to them. Overthinking doesn't disappear overnight, but every time you catch a distortion, you weaken the overthinking habit. Here's what I want you to remember: your thoughts are not facts, silence is not a threat, feelings are not evidence, and not everything needs interpretation. You deserve clarity, not self doubt. And the mind can be trained gently but consistently. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I hope this video helps you understand your thoughts with more compassion and navigate uncertainty with more confidence. Reach out to us or comment handout to receive a digital handout that has information about all the points we covered today. Thank you, take care, and take it slow.